La Liga is a great league. Carlo Ancelotti has made Real Madrid dominant again, Vinicius Jr nearly won the Ballon d'Or, and Spain won the Euros in the summer. But despite everything new with Spanish football, it will never ever beat the prime La Liga years in the 2010s. So let's look at the art and beauty of prime La Liga. I mean, there's no point in starting anywhere else other than the two things that made Spanish football great during the 2010s. And that's obviously Pepe and his lack of an anger management course. But seriously, it's Lionel Messi and it's Cristiano Ronaldo, maybe the best two footballers that have ever graced the pitch. I mean, you look back, it's quite silly that we are two players roughly the same age, both in the primes, on rival teams in the exact same league. Messi came onto the scene in 2004 and Ronaldo joined Real Madrid in 2009. And I like it because it's kind of two different stories on how these two both became great at the games going at each other. Messi, who was a superstar in La Masia, burst onto the scene as a teenager. He won the Golden Boy in 2005 and he famously learned from Ronaldinho. So it's a perfect mentor partnership that put Messi onto the path to become one of, if not the best ever player. Despite potentially going down the party boy route followed by Ronaldinho, he was able to learn how a superstar acts, because let's not face it, was there a bigger superstar in the mid-2000s in football than Ronaldinho? It's always cool when a brilliant player has a brilliant debut to look back on, and that's exactly what Lionel Messi did. And then when Ronaldinho's career ended, unfortunately, at Barcelona, the torch was then passed on to Lionel Messi, and who came in as well during that time? It was Pep Guardiola. So in 2008, where Pep got promoted to the first team job in Barcelona, the team who he had captained during his playing career, it just went supersonic. He took over from Rijkaard, and in his short 4 years there, he made Barca into a dominant team. I mean, it's weird when you think of Pep being at Barca, it seemed like he was there for 10 years. So in one hand you had Lionel Messi, an academy graduate who played in a team-first system, managed by a former captain of the club who also came through the academy, and then surrounded by loads of world-class academy players. And then like the Empire in Star Wars, you had Real Madrid. They were the big bad wolf of the league. They would buy and buy and buy the best players, and that's exactly what they did in the summer of 2009. They bought Kaká, who won the Ballon d'Or 2 years prior. They bought Xabi Alonso, one of the best midfielders in the world. They bought Karim Benzema from Lyon, one of the most promising strikers in the world, and of course they bought Cristiano Ronaldo. It changed the game when Ronaldo got bought for a world record fee for about 80 million. And I remember watching his presentation, and the fact that Real Madrid sold out the entire stadium was just mind-blowing at the time. It was the polar opposites between the star-studded quality squad of Real Madrid, and then you had the humble Barcelona squad with all the youth products. It's not like Barca didn't buy any players. And then the two took it to new heights in the 2010s. I mean, Ronaldo dominated the Champions League. He obviously had a great domestic career. And Lionel Messi, I mean, it was just insane watching him play, especially in that 2011-2012 period. I mean, the fella scored 92 goals in a calendar year. It did get a bit silly at times where you just look at all the results of Barca and Real Madrid every weekend, and regardless of who else played well in that game, it would at least have 1 or 2 goals from Messi and Ronaldo. You've got elite players now. I mean, Vinicius Jr is going to be an all-time great. Same with Mbappé. You've got Yamal, who's on the up at the moment. You've got Pedri and Gavi. They're all brilliant, but they are years away from Ronaldo and Messi, and that's not even an insult. I think one of the best things about the rivalry between the two of them was it didn't feel like a rivalry because it didn't seem like they hated each other. It didn't seem like they liked each other, and I don't think they were friends, at least publicly. Messi, it seemed like he just couldn't care less. And then on the flip side of that, you had Ronaldo, who could care less and was so just obsessed with, he had the Michael Jordan thing of that he just could not lose. It was just mutual respect between the two, but they never seemed friends. I mean, we could do a 2-hour video on them two, but let's talk about Barca and Real Madrid. El Clasico, one of the best rivalries in sports history, really, isn't it? It's got so much history behind it. It's got so much animosity behind it. You had Mourinho coming off the Inter Milan treble. You had a young and hungry Pep Guardiola, Zinedine Zidane, and then Luis Enrique, who took over from Pep. To me, it felt like El Clasico lost its soul in the late 2010s. I think there was pure hatred, real hatred between those players in the early mid-2010s. You saw Carlos Puyol going at Sergio Ramos, going at Pepe, Dani Alves. I mean, even someone like Victor Valdez joined in at some points. Every tackle, the benches all rushed out onto the pitch, which I miss. I know it's not allowed nowadays, but I think it just added to the immersion of the game. You either supported Real Madrid or you supported Barcelona when you was at home. The managers were constantly at each other in the fourth official's ear. Yes, there was a lot of diving involved. There was a lot of fighting in a football sense. And not to mention, obviously, the pure skill of the game. It was the best two teams in the world going at each other. You had Gareth Bale taking it past Marc Bartra in the Copa del Rey. You had Cristiano Ronaldo shushing the Nou Camp. You have Messi, I know it was in the Champions League, but scoring one of the best ever goals you'll see at the Bernabeu. It was just pure entertainment. It felt like a reality TV show at times. And I think from a UK perspective speaking, it was great because it was on Sky Sports and I believe it was on ITV at the time. And now it's moved to Premier Sports. That's fair enough, they can choose what they want to do. But sometimes, I mean, before Vinicius Jr and Mbappé and Bellingham, they've all hit the star status, it didn't feel like the advertising was getting pumped out there. I mean, it's a huge game, and sometimes I didn't even know it was happening. I mean, you could seriously take Messi and Ronaldo out of those sides, and they'd probably still be the best in the world. I mean, a prime Gareth Bale took a back seat in the middle of his career because he wasn't as good as, obviously, Cristiano Ronaldo. Alexis Sanchez was a role player for Barcelona, and then moved to Arsenal and was one of the best players in the world. But I'm not here just to get on my knees and pray to the gods that is Messi, Ronaldo, Barca and Real Madrid. Let's talk about a man who hid in the shadows, is the unwanted stepchild of La Liga, and that's Diego Simeone. It was the rock star, it was the maverick of La Liga, him and his Atletico Madrid side that everyone loved to hate. You could see there's a lot of influence from a young Jose Mourinho in Simeone. I mean, it was before my time, but obviously a lot of English people hate him for kicking out David Beckham, but then, I mean, they hate David Beckham regardless, so it didn't really affect my opinion on him. But I loved that, just, he didn't mind, he let everyone hate him. He liked being the bad guy of La Liga. With a lesser, and not a minimal budget, but with a lot less than Barca and Real Madrid, he managed to steal a league title during that 2010 period with just rock-solid defending. I mean, Diego Godin became one of the best defenders of the 21st century. Oblak is an all-time great keeper. These defensive sides, I think, age really well over the years because I remember watching Simeone's teams and it was so dull watching them play, because they'd use every trick in the book. They'd dive, they'd cheat, they'd put 10 men on the 18-yard line, and you just won't be able to get past them. It was a very dull game. But over the years, you learn to appreciate just how organised and how well-drilled they were to play against those Barcelona sides, to play against those Real Madrid sides. And I like to say, you can't just look on this with rose-tinted glasses on. Barca were very dull at times when they'd have 90% possession, and you'd just be watching them passing it about the middle of the park for an hour. But to get back to Simeone and Atletico, what I loved about him, that he showed pure disdain for anyone not wearing an Atletico Madrid badge. Never felt like he was trying to do well for Atletico and then take the Barca job or take the Bayern Munich or take the Man United job. It always felt like he was die-hard Atletico. I mean, he's got one of the most iconic manager outfits, wearing the black suit. I mean, who has an iconic manager outfit other than Diego Simeone and a handful of people? Good Lord, the constant moaning, it did grate on you at times. But like I say, you got to appreciate just the pure shithousery of Simeone. It was great because at the end of the day, if Real Madrid and Barcelona had no other competition in the league, the quality could dip down. I think that is partly what we've seen with the Premier League over the recent years. Before Arsenal came in, Liverpool and Man City had no competition. It was just the two of them. And if Man City didn't win, then Liverpool were right there. But the best thing about La Liga during the 2010s was that not every single year, but most years, Simeone was right there behind them. And if there was a slip-up between any of the two teams, then Atletico probably would win the league. I mean, it showed the further depth of Spanish football when you looked at the Europa League, because Sevilla were dominating the Europa League. Domestically, they were up and down, but when you just look at the European competitions during that time, Real Madrid dominated the Champions League, and then Atletico got 2 Europa Leagues, and then Sevilla got 3. Could you argue this was the effects of Spanish football taking off in the late 2000s, because Spain won back-to-back Euros and the World Cup? I've said in videos I think it's the best ever international side we're ever going to see. I don't think you can get as dominant as they were. You even see the French side now that they're having teething issues with new players, some old players leaving. Spain won 3 tournaments in a row. And you could also argue it was the Pep Guardiola effect, because as we can all attest in England, the quality of football has definitely gone up since Pep has come into the league, because everyone has had to raise the quality. Everyone's essentially had to copy the way he plays, because if you don't play like Man City, unless you have star-studded players, you're not going to win a title. It was also quite cool seeing Premier League rejects flourishing in La Liga. And you could argue, well, that makes La Liga a worse league. I'd actually just say some of these Premier League players they didn't suit the style of play at the time. Iago Aspas, for example, went to Liverpool and he was awful. I mean, he was really good in his first pre-season, but he was dreadful in the rest of his career. But then he went to Celta Vigo and became one of the most prolific goal scorers in the league. Christian Stuani as well. He didn't have a terrible Middlesbrough career, but he moved to Girona, who, yes, admittedly were up and down the leagues, but he's become a legend at Girona and became a very regular goal scorer for them. It was just a great time to be a football fan. You had Ballon d'Ors every single season during the 2010s. You had Champions Leagues pretty much every single season. Star-studded players. If you look at the team of the year from 2010 to about 2018-19, most years it was Casillas in net, Ramos, Dani Alves, Piqué, Marcelo, Barcelona midfield, Messi and Ronaldo, and whoever you wanted up top. It really was the best of what world football could offer at that point. And yes, it took a bit of a decline. I think naturally Cristiano Ronaldo going to Juventus, Messi moving to PSG later on, and the financial troubles of the league and also Barcelona. But it's definitely on the comeback with Vinicius Jr now, and Mbappé when he can get his legs sorted, Jude Bellingham, Barcelona challenging for the league title again. But for me, I think when Barcelona get back into Europe properly again, I mean into the quarter and semi-finals, then I think La Liga can reinstate its name as maybe the best league in the world. But in my opinion, it's one of the best eras of football we've seen, and it might be the two best domestic sides we're ever going to see. And that is why I think there's such an art and beauty of the prime La Liga years. Let me know what you think. Let me know if you think it was the prime La Liga years, if it's in the prime now, if the Premier League was better at the time, and if you enjoyed it or if you didn't enjoy it. Just leave a comment below. If you could leave a like, that'd be great, and if you subscribe to the channel, that'd be brilliant. But thanks for watching.